Good morning. Hello, Wilo Gamer Pro. Good to see you, man. Glad to have you here. All right. Well, more of the same today. More learning go. Let's see if we can't be a little bit more productive than we've been the last couple days. Hey, what's up, man? How are you? All right, where was I? I don't remember. It's been a minute. I think we were dealing with arrays and slices still. I think I was supposed to implement a new function or something or other. Um, yeah, I think we were here. Let's see, raise another type. Just write the first test. We did that. We did the refactoring. We did the coverage checks. We did that. This is a very attic function. Good morning. Good morning to you too, man. Hello, I love lamp. Good to see you. Good to see you. Hey, what's up, Artwork Shoes? Wow, we've got the full cruise here. Today, no school, so I can be here early. Nice. Well, awesome, man. It's always nice to have a day off school. Did we? I think we finished this, didn't we? Oh no, this is what we were doing. This is what we're doing now. Okay. As mentioned, slices have capacity. If you have a slice with a capacity of 2 and try to do slice 10 equals 1, you'll get a runtime error. However, you can use the append function. We already did that. This is the one we were on. Sum all tails. So based on what Pablo said yesterday, 8 is greater than 9 a.m. So 1 hour of school today. So no school for rest of day currently. Wow, you only go to school for an hour? That's random. Who only goes to school for an hour? Stephen Paidborn is kind of smart. I can barely code in JS. I can only understand HTML and CSS. That's okay. You can always learn more JavaScript. And HTML and CSS will take you pretty far to do like website stuff, static pages, brochure sites. No math teacher, no French teacher, no only English. What happened to your teachers, man? They go missing? Maybe sick or something? Oh, yeah, that sucks, dude. That's a lot of people sick, though. You know what I mean? Sometimes my microphone gets in the way. Hey, what's up, Harry? How are you, bro? I'm doing good. Yeah, man. We're just getting our day started. I got my orange. I got my slippers on. I got my cup of coffee. Got a cup of coffee in the big time. That's a WWE reference. Feeling a little tired? Huh. Well, maybe today's one of those take it easy days, you know? Everybody needs some of those. How you got your first computer or laptop, and what did you... Oh, nice. I love Lamp with the emoji bomb. Let's go. That's right. Like and subscribe for bug-free code. That's right. That's my channel's offering. Like and subscribe for bug-free code. I guess I'm gonna have to turn that into the channel's like catchphrase or something. What are you eating? I'm eating an orange. Grand Admiral Thrawn. I never noticed it was misspelled. Okay, real quick. The first computer, so I grew up in a house that always had computers, so I was lucky in that sense. My dad was an IT guy. He was actually the IT guy at our high school. So I kind of grew up in a house where I always had access to a computer. I didn't have my own computer until though I was 18. When I graduated high school, my parents bought me a laptop. So that's how I got my first computer, was my parents bought it for me. Basically because I was going to college, you know. As far as what did you do for a while as a job when you don't have skills? Well, I had lots of other skills. Like, I never thought I'd work in tech. That was never part of my career path. When I got out of high school, I got certified to be a personal trainer and really fell in love with that. And really, ultimately, would have liked to have made that my full-time career, but it was very difficult to build a business and very difficult to maintain that career when my wife and I started to have kids, because basically the way personal training works is you basically work from like 4 o'clock in the morning to about 8 o'clock in the morning, right? When everybody works out before work. Then you might have a little bit of work at lunchtime, and then you work from like 4 o'clock in the afternoon to like 8 o'clock at night. So your day is always split up into this split shift type of routine. And so basically, if you have a baby, you're never around to help with the most important parts of the day. So that's what I did. I did that through college, but then, and I did that for a couple years after college. But then once we decided to have our first kids, I basically took my degree that I got in school and went and got a job as a research and development food scientist, which was a lot of fun. So, yeah, I guess in my eyes, I didn't come up in technology. I never thought I would work in technology. So in my eyes, the world is so much bigger than technology because that's the world I came from, right? And it's interesting interacting with people who are in tech, because it's almost like they don't think anything exists outside of tech. Like, their only jobs they have in mind are like software engineer and product manager. And the world is just there's so much more opportunity out there beyond that. See Artwork Studios? My game is a long way. I'll need to learn Canvas, JavaScript, TensorFlow, and some other things. It may feel like a long way, but I mean, I think you're probably a lot closer than what you think. You know what I mean? All I know is that every time I've ever wanted to start something in life, I always wish I would have started it a lot earlier. You know what I mean? You always wish you would have started earlier. So the best time to start is now, you know? Why you don't stream on Twitch? Primarily just because there wasn't a lot of interaction over there. That might be different now, but when I was streaming over on Twitch, at the end of last year while I was doing admin of code, I would just basically I'd have 0 viewers for like 2 hours or 6 hours of streaming. So I just stopped and just started only streaming to YouTube. Nice. New fresh install of Windows 11. Can't go wrong there, huh? Can't go wrong there. All right, look at us, test passing. So this basically just means the tail means take from the first position up to and excluding the in position, right? Basically this is just going to slice off the first element of the array. Or the slice. It's going to slice the first element from the slice. Is what it's going to do. This is where they talk about it here. If you omit the value on one of the sides of the colon, it captures everything to that side of it. In our case, we are saying take from 1 to the head. You may wish to spend some time writing other tests around slices and experiment with the slice operator to get more familiar with it. No, I'm good. What do you think would happen if you passed in an empty slice into our function? What is the tail of an empty slice? What happens when you tell Go to capture all elements from my empty slice? Write the first test. Sure, we can write tests. Don't ask why I need to learn TensorFlow for a game. Well, that's, I mean, hey man, I'll never question why you want to learn something. You know what I mean? It's your life. You can learn whatever you want. I'm just some random dude on the internet. Why would I, you know what I mean? Excuse me. Excuse me. So what's he doing here? He's basically just checking to see if the numbers is empty. And if it is, then he's initializing a empty array. Or an empty slice. With length of 0. Easy enough. Seems reasonable. Seems like a reasonable approach. And it passes. And we can also check our code coverage, huh? Yeah. Oops. Oh, we don't have any Wait, no, that was benchmark. How do we check our code coverage? This one. 100%. We have 100% coverage. We have achieved the ultimate dream. Our tests have some repeated code around the assertions again, so let's extract those into a function. In this case, we're showing a new technique, assigning a function to a variable. It might look strange, but it's no different to assigning a variable to a string or an int. Functions, in effect, are values too. Oh, this thing? He's talking about this thing right here. Well, we know how to do that. Come on. We know how to assign functions to variables. We write TypeScript. You know what I mean? Like, that's old news. Why is this guy complaining? Oh, because you can't. Can you not do that at the top level? So where did he? Oh, he defined it right in the. Now is it? Why is it complaining? Declared but not used. Okay, well we're gonna fix that really quick. Don't you worry. Oh no, Copilot is trying to assert itself. Charles, thank you for subbing. I appreciate that. It's very kind of you. Hope you're doing well, man. Welcome to the stream. Welcome to the channel. Great to have you here. We're currently learning Go. Oh, I forgot to pin a message, didn't I? Gosh dang it. Good morning. We are back here on the YouTubes. On the YouTubes. Trying to learn Go. While drinking way too much coffee. And far too much yapping to be productive. But you are welcome to chill with us. And we're going to pin that message. There we go. See, by defining this function inside the test, it cannot be used by other functions in this package. Hiding variables and functions that don't need to be exported is an important design consideration. A handy side effect of this is this adds a little type safety to our code. If a developer mistakenly adds a new test with checksums T, got, and Dave, the compiler will stop them in their tracks. Cannot use Dave type string as type of slice of int in argument to checksums. Wonderful. We love our type safety. Do we not, chat? We love our type safety. Give us all the type safety. Now we learned about structs, methods, and interfaces. Suppose that we need some geometry code to calculate the perimeter of a rectangle given a height and width. We can, also the goal is to get through, let's see, I think we counted 15 lessons, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, I guess 16 lessons. So the goal is to get through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We need to get through mocking today. So we need to focus, chat. We need to focus. Hey, what's up, Renee? How are you? Write the test first. Notice the new format string. The F is for our float 64, and the .2 means print 2 decimal places. Nice. Okay, let me get this set up. So we want to make a new directory. We'll call this, I'm not sure what we should call this. Methods, structs, interfaces. Ah, dang it. Methods, structs, interfaces. And we'll just call it main.go. Or actually, let's just call it package.go. Package test. Alright. Now we need a perimeter function, or perimeter... Yeah, I guess a perimeter function is what it is. Yep. We want this guy. No, we wanted 40 and we got 0. No, how dare we? Oops. Write enough code to make it pass. 2 times width plus height. Right? You guys remember how to do perimeter from back in school? I tell you what, having kids has been kind of interesting because it's kind of forced me to have to try to remember all the things I learned in school. Alright, here we go. We passed. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Okay, so not so easy. Let's create a function called area, which returns the area of a cycle. Try to do it yourself following the TDD cycle. Wonderful. Well, we're going to do it myself, but we're going to do it by copying your code. So how do you guys remember how we implement area? What is area? We have float 64. We have height float 64. It returns a float 64. So this is the one thing that sometimes I do miss about like TypeScript when you compare it to Go or you compare it to C# is sometimes I wish, like, you know, TypeScript you could just use type inference to figure out like what does this function return, and sometimes I don't care for having to explicitly type the return value. Alright, so what is area? If I remember right, area is width times height, right? That? Let's see. Look, I got it right. Nice. Harry, sitting for more hours increases the chance of disease and heart attack. Then I got recap of my previous 6 hours of rank push in League of Legends. Yeah, sitting is not good. Unfortunately, modern life requires us to sit a whole hell of a lot. So you have to actively work against it. And I do that by having a standing desk, which helps somewhat. But I don't have my camera set up to sit and stand on stream. So we're stuck sitting on stream, at least for now. And I kind of prefer to sit when I'm doing like things that require a lot of mental effort. I really only stand and work if I'm doing like email or responding to messages, stuff like that, like admin-y type tasks. My kid has been homesick from school for the last 3 days, and I'm wondering if I finally succumbed to his illness. Okay, our code does the job, but doesn't contain anything explicit about rectangles. An unwary developer might try to supply the width and height of a triangle to these functions without realizing they will return the wrong answer. Well, yeah, they will. You can't calculate the area for everything the same way. We could just give the functions more specific names like rectangle area. We can create a simple type using a struct. A struct is just a named collection of fields where you can store data. Any solution for it? My doctor told me to take a walk break after every 15 to 30 minutes. Yeah, that's really the best way. So I think the best way to combat having a very sedentary job is to put what I call like exercise snacks throughout the day. It's the reason why I have a kettlebell in my office and I have a pull-up bar over one of the doors in my basement. You want to have an excuse to get up and move, and preferably move in a variety of ways, like get down on the ground, do some stretching, do a few push-ups, maybe squat, do some side lunges, like find a way in the 10 minutes that you're up and taking a break from being seated and move in sunlight, get outside, right? So I think that's the hard part, is like a lot of people don't have the flexibility. Like me, I'm very privileged. Working from home gives me a lot of flexibility to do that kind of stuff. When I worked at my other job and I was based in a manufacturing plant, when I was a food scientist, those opportunities weren't as readily available. I mean, I could step into an office or step into a conference room and like bang out some push-ups or bang out some squats, right? But like I couldn't really like get down on the floor and like stretch and roll around, or I couldn't just like go outside, right? I mean, I guess I could, but there was nowhere to go. Like you're in the middle of nowhere, right? Like you have a parking lot, I guess you could walk around in. But it's just, I know for a lot of people, like if you're in a hospital setting, it's just not this. It's not as easy. It's sort of, you're swimming upstream, right? You're trying to like work against the system. The system's not really built to help you stay healthy and strong for a long time. The system is designed to maximize your productivity as a laborer. That's what the system's designed for. Declare a struct in your shapes.go file like this. Now let's refactor the test to use the rectangle instead of plain float64. Hold on, I missed a section of this. Oh no, he's doing TDD, so he's not refactoring everything. So let's go back over here, and we'll define a new struct, and we'll call, what did he call it? Rectangle. Rectangle. And I think he said it had a height. Boris, thanks for subscribing, man. Appreciate having you here. Float 64. Did I do something wrong? Expected declaration, found struct. I obviously did something wrong. Got to write type. Expect what? I've never seen that error. What's expected IDENT found struct? Oh, gosh dang it. I can't figure out how to word the keywords correctly. There we go. Like that. Boris, hey, what's up? Super weird situation. I subbed after your bench press short and just had to resubscribe. Oh, that's really weird. Well, thanks for watching me bench press. I appreciate you subscribing. Thanks for resubscribing. It's very kind of you. Okay, so we have our rectangle. Should I mean, I know what I need to do now. He wants me to go back over here, and then he wants me to change this to be, oops. Yeah, I mean, he wants me to do that, then he wants me to go over here, and he wants me to pass that in. Then he wants me to go back over to the terminal, and he wants me to run my test. Oh no, it doesn't work. He's basically trying to simulate this TDD thing, which is kind of feels a little pedantic to me at the moment, because I'm like in a hurry. I want to get through this, but it is a good practice. You can access the fields of a struct with the syntax of mystruct.field. Yeah, so you're basically going to just refactor this. Well, let me go down here. Change this to be rec equals rectangle 12.0, 6.0, rec like this. It's obviously going to complain. We have to go modify the signatures. Hey, is that the Oh My Posh terminal styler? Yes, I'm using Oh My Posh. And if you want Nathan.commit, I like that username, dude. Nice. Morning to you too, sir. Boris, if you want my Oh My Posh config, you can just type !Oh My Posh in the chat, and Stream Elements will send you over it's pretty. My Oh My Posh config is very similar to the built-in Agnoster theme. It's just modified a little bit so that I can put the prompt on a new line. And I mean, I have a couple segments that I've added over the years, but for the most part, it's pretty straightforward. I haven't modified it too much. Yeah, there's a whole list of commands, chat. Now we finally got another bot set up. So there's a whole list of commands that you can check out. My favorite one is the weather. You can type !weather, and it will tell you. It will give you some deets about my my location. I think it will. Okay, maybe not. I thought it was weather. Oh no, it's not weather, it's where bro at. That's what it is. Where bro at is the... There you go. That's my favorite command that Stream Elements does. I like that Stream Elements has, like, they have these different functions that you can include in your commands, which are kind of cool. Calce. Yeah. I don't know if that's one of them. Alright, so we turn this into a rectangle. Turn this into a rectangle. And then the only thing we have to change here is, instead of calling the passed in with, we just call the field on our rectangle. With Go is I will say, guys, Go is growing on me. The more I write it, the more it's growing on me. I was a little resistive. There's still some things that I'm not quite sure about, but I think I'm starting to like it. So that should mean now if we rerun our test, they should all pass again, which they do. Wonderful. Let's see. We're gonna go back to our docs. Where did my... There we go. I hope you'll agree that passing a rectangle to a function conveys our intent more clearly, but there are more benefits of using structs that we will cover later. Our next requirement is to write an area function for circles. Alright, we can do that. Let's go ahead and swap out our test code. So we'll swap out all this stuff for this guy. Although this guy's going to be angry because this guy doesn't have a circle. We don't have a circle anywhere in sight. So as you can see, it is mad about the circle. What's up, 199? Morning. Boris, Go was written in part by Kernighan, who wrote the KNR, the C programming language book. Oh, I didn't know that. That's cool. I'm taking his advice and learning AWK, and he wrote that in part as well. Oh, wow. I had no idea. I'm going to try not to get sidetracked. Well, I'm going to come back to that. Although I will say KNR style curly braces. I know that's how Go and most people in JavaScript write it, but like In my opinion, all curly braces should be on a new line. Chilling at work. Plan to do some work when I'm home. Hold on, wait. You're at work and you're gonna go home and do more work? What is this madness? You need to go home and play Arc Raiders. That's what you need to go home and do. Work is work, and then you go home and you play video games. Or whatever your hobby is, you know, go home and lift weights. Go home and XYZ, you know, I don't know. Whatever it is you like to do for fun, that's what you should be doing. PC is cooked, no upgrades till later on. Ah, damn. I'm sorry, man. I don't really game on a PC. I just game on my Xbox. Oh, you're on a rest day from the gym? Dude, that sucks. But also great discipline. Because rest days are when the magic happens, people. Like, I don't know if you know this, but the gym is the catalyst for the adaptation. The adaptation actually comes from resting. So learning, reading, and writing today. Well, that sounds like a wonderful day. What are you reading? Anything in particular? Let's see. As you can see, the F has been replaced by G with good reason. Use of G will print a more precise decimal number in the error message. For example, using a radius of 1.5 in a circle area calculation, F would show blah, 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 whereas G would show blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to say all those numbers. Excuse me. We need to define our circle. So a circle has a radius. Some programming languages allow you to do something like this. Oh, this is basically a signature, right? This is a overloaded method, or an overloaded function, which you cannot do in Go, apparently, which sucks. You have two choices. You can have functions with the same name declared in different packages. So we could create our area of circle in a new package, but that feels like overkill here. We can define methods on our newly defined types instead. What are methods? So far, we have only been writing functions, but we have... Methods in Go kind of seem counter to the idea of functional programming, though, if I have to admit. What do you guys think? Do y'all think that having methods in your Go code is functional? Because I feel like if you're practicing like a true functional paradigm, you're literally just passing around bags of data to different function calls. And this area and rectangle circle kind of seems like you're walking down the object-oriented paradigm a little bit. Learning is just Python crash course. Pretty good. Reading notes from the underground. Nice. Yeah, man, that sounds good. I'm currently reading a book called 1929 by Andrew Ross Sorkin, I think is the author's name. It's good. I read a lot of nonfiction, and I read a little fiction. Boris, that's how it was originally written in old 70C. You declared variable name in parameter, then again define the type, then curly brace on new line. Yeah, I like the curly brace on new line. The opening curly on a new line. Apparently that's called almond style curly braces. See, I'm getting distracted now. Almond style braces. Yeah, this is the style I prefer. This is madness. This is absolute insanity. I can live with this. This version is like, what the fuck are you even doing with your life? Tolerable. Batshit crazy. Yeah, I think the only valid approaches are KNR and almond. It's funny how you develop taste for this stuff. It's really dumb shit, but you develop a taste for it, right? Like who fucking cares where the curly braces are? But you code long enough and all of a sudden you develop all these like odd opinions about stupid dumb shit about text in files. All right. So we're going to use methods. So far, we have only been writing functions, but we have been using other methods. When we call t.aref, we are calling the method aref on the instance of our t. A method is a function with a receiver. A method declaration binds an identifier, the method name, to a method and associates the method with the receiver's base type. Methods are very similar to functions, but they are called by invoking them on an instance of a particular type, where you can just call functions whenever you like, such as area, rectangle. You can only call methods on things. An example will help, so let's change our tests first to call methods and then fix the code, okay? We'll copy paste the test. All right, so if you've been paying attention, what he's basically saying is instead of passing rectangle into area, what we're doing instead is we are newing up a rectangle and then we're calling an area method on a rectangle. So you can sort of think of like a function doesn't care about the instance of a thing. A method does. A method belongs to an instance of a thing. I'm reading a human use for human beings about feedback mechanisms referred to as cybernetics. A human use for human beings. That sounds oddly dystopian. Let me look that up. Do you like it so far? Would you recommend it? Should I put it on my list? A book by Norbert Wiener. That guy definitely got made fun of in high school. Or maybe not high school, but definitely middle school. Wow, this book is from 1950? Wow. That's an old book. How did you come across this? 199. Is this like classes? Noob? You're not a noob, man. It's a really good question. Yes. So basically, it's not. So basically, the way Go so Go is not classically an object-oriented language, right? It's classically a kind of comes from a more of a functional paradigm. But the way instead of a class, what you're defining is a struct, which is a struct is a value type, right? So if you're coming from like the C# world, this would be the difference between like if you're coming from a lot of programming languages, right? JavaScript, TypeScript, this is the difference between like a number and an object, right? Primitives that are value types and objects which are kind of these mutable reference types. In a rectangle or a struct in Go are value types, but you can get references to those complex values through a pointer. But yeah, so basically when you define a struct, you're sort of defining something like a class, and then you can create instances of that thing, right? Or in this case, you're creating an instance of a struct, not an instance of a class, but an instance of a struct. And so that's what this syntax is right here. You know, like in C# or in TypeScript, we would say, you know, we would have this type of a syntax, right? We would have new rectangle, and then we'd probably pass in those arguments here, right? But in Go, it looks like this. And they're not, like I said, they're not exactly identical. Classes are treated differently in C# and TypeScript than structs are treated in Go. But it's a similar idea. Well. Who we got here? A famous Go developer? No, we have a gentleman in his basement pretending to be a Go developer. Good morning, Gun. Good to see you, man. Thanks for stopping in. May need to look into Go after my current learnings. Yeah, I mean, so far it's been a really nice language to work with. There's been one thing that I had like a viscerally negative reaction to, but other than that, I thought, yeah, I can do this. I can work with this. If I don't want to go do C++. I've never done C++ so far. I mean, that might change in the next 30 years or 20 years. Hopefully, I live that long, knock on wood. Maybe I'll get around to trying C++. Who knows? There might be some cool programming language we all don't even know about that's going to come out, take the world by storm. When not short stream? What do you mean? You mean like when will I do a horizontal stream? Is that what you're asking? VLang is interesting. Too bad it's not popular. I've never heard of that language. VLang? Yeah. So Butterscotch has asked about this too. A couple of my other chatters have asked me about this. So I will probably do a horizontal stream once YouTube lets me do dual format. So they announced in September that they were introducing the ability to stream to both have a horizontal stream and a vertical stream without the streamer having to set up two different streams. Because you can do that. You can set up two different streams, and then in OBS you can pipe a vertical one to one of the streams and you can pipe a horizontal to the other. I tried that. It crushed my network bandwidth. And so my tack was, well, I'm just going to stick with verticals because vertical gets the most engagement and viewership. So whenever YouTube comes to me and says, hey, you can stream in dual format now, like TikTok lets people do, that's when I'll start doing it. Verticals are great. Can watch while doing poo-poo. It's funny because it's true. But yeah, I totally understand H about the whole horizontal versus vertical format. They made that announcement in September. I believe. Let's see, YouTube dual format stream. Yeah, they made this in September. So September 16th, they announced that this was coming. But I think they're like slow rolling it out, so only certain people have access to it right now. But as soon as it shows up in my YouTube studio, I will get it set up and get it rocking and rolling. I don't know what I'll put on the other half of the screen though, because right now the other half of the screen is just the music playing. So I'm not sure how we will redo the layout in order to accommodate the fact that people could be consuming it vertically or could be consuming it horizontally. I'm not sure how we'll figure it out. It'll be trial and error. But as soon as I get that, I'll hook you up. At the same time, short streams are great because there's no ads. Well, that's awesome. Yeah, keep the ads out, right? Well, I'm okay with the ads. Like that's one of the benefits of finally having a channel that's monetized. So I don't want the ads to bug you guys too much. Or we can eventually build up a large enough number of YouTube members, we can just turn off the ads altogether. Do I sound like a capitalist? Yeah, probably a little bit, huh? I would like to reiterate how great the compiler is. Okay, great. Wonderful. Alright, so we need to implement these now. So we have a rectangle, we have a method of area, and a method of area. So let's go back over to our code. Yeah. So what we're going to do is we're going to define another type called circle. It is going to be a struct. It's going to have one field called radius, which is of type float64. Now we are going to define some methods. So a method is just a function. The only thing that makes it a method is we give it a receiver type. So here we'll say We have a receiver of R that is of type rectangle. And then we'll have the method name will be area, and it won't take any parameters. And it won't take any parameters or arguments because inside the body of the function, we can access all of this. So we should be able to just copy this line, or no, sorry, copy this line, paste it here, rename rec to R, and then we should also need to define a return type, which would be float64, and everyone's happy. And then we can do the same thing with the circle. But instead of a receiver type of R, we'll have a receiver named C of type circle. And then down here we need to do, so how do you do the area of a circle? Is it 2 pi r squared? Or is that the diameter? These are things I should know, lest I be stranded on an island and need to build something, right? Let's see, what is the radius of a circle? Yeah, 2 pi r, yeah, this. See, I knew, I just didn't have the confidence. We need to import the math package, which we did. Now if we come back over to this guy, these all should be happy. If we do go.test again, we should pass. Oh, Boris knew pi r squared. Boris knew. He was confident with it too. I like it. Boris, I read about ads because I made videos. I would put ads in them. Oh, well, that's kind of you to be honest like that, Boris. Because some people just are so opinionated about the whole monetization thing. So I'm glad there's somebody in chat that's reasonable. There's some duplication in our test. All we want to do is take a collection of shapes, call the area method on them, and then check the result. We want to be able to write some kind of check area function that we can pass both rectangle and circles to. If you love me, you wouldn't want me to be broke. Well, the thing is, like, I don't necessarily want you guys to be worried about my economic conditions. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want you all to be worried about that at all because that's my responsibility. But I do think it's funny that people get really worked up when other people want to monetize the things that they make or create. You know? It's like in the open source world. You guys have probably heard me bitch about this, but like in the last year in the .NET community, we've had several large open source projects decide they want to change their licensing model so that they still basically have sort of a free to use for non-commercial use, but then they have a license for commercial use. And for whatever reason, the whole .NET community has just been up in arms about it. And it's like, what? Why not? Like, why not encourage people to make things sustainable for their livelihood? I mean, they're making this stuff in their free time and they're giving it away for free if you want to use it. And all they're saying is, hey, if you make some money off of it, you should pay us a vig, you know, which is no different than anything else in life that you use. So I'll just never understand this whole idea like open source means free, and that I don't think that those two things are it can, but it doesn't mandate it. That's the way I look at it. Float64, huh? Renee, are you judging my use of Float64? Gotti Python, hi, how's it going? You doing good today? I am doing good today. I'm just currently ranting about people who want everyone else's work for free. I'm here listening, but got to do my stuff too. But if you need me for some reason, even just summon me. Okay, thanks, Gun. I appreciate you, man. There needs to be some sort of animation, though, when we summon you. Whenever we say Gun and, like, you appear in the chat, there needs to be, like, smoke or something that... In Go, we can codify this intent with interfaces. Interfaces are a very powerful concept in statically typed languages like Go because they allow you to make functions that can be used with different types and create decoupled code while still maintaining type safety. Wonderful. Oh, yeah, shape. There's the interface. Shape is our interface. Okay, cool. So a shape has an area, right? And an interface is like, I always think of an interface like a contract, you know? An interface is like, hey, you agree, like, as the person implementing the interface, you're saying, I agree to abide by this contract. Then when somebody else depends on your interface, right, they can have confidence that anybody that provides that interface has satisfied it. That's how I think of it. I always think of interfaces like contracts. Renee, everyone is sick. I mean many YouTubers. What? What are you saying, Renee? Everyone is sick. I mean many YouTubers. Like, you mean a lot of YouTubers are sick? What? And why is that? Obviously, we do not have a shape interface, so we need to define one. Type shape interface. Smoke from the gun. Funny thing with Gun High's name, it ain't Polish, but Turkish, where I is with. But I'm not Turkish, though. Interesting. You have a Turkish name, but you're not Turkish. So then we can declare, so our interface, we can basically say, hey, the shape contract requires you to implement area, and area needs to take no arguments, and it needs to return a float 64. Normally, you would have to write code to say my type foo implements interface bar, but in our case, rectangle has a method called area that returns a float 64, so it satisfies the shape. This is very similar to TypeScript, right? So in C#, you have to explicitly implement, inherit, whatever you want to call it. You have to explicitly implement an interface in C#. But in TypeScript, you don't, right? This is why in TypeScript, you can define a parameter, right, or a return type, and then you can just create an anonymous object that satisfies that type and return it or pass it. This is very similar in Go. So as long as we define an area method with a return type of float64, then when we go back to our tests, everyone's happy, right? Even though the only thing I did was create a helper that depends on the interface, everyone down here is fine. Like this, the rectangle is fine to pass to check area because rectangle has an area method, right? So if we run our tests, it should pass. I've always thought of interfaces as like a socket. Really interesting, like a socket. Something that you can plug in, huh? I mean, that's fair. Let's see, notice how our helper does not need to concern itself with whether the shape is a rectangle or a circle or a triangle. By declaring an interface, the helper is decoupled from the concrete types and only has the methods it needs to do its job. Well, we love decoupled code. We hate coupled code, we love decoupled code. Your code is coupled, get the fuck out of here. Your code is decoupled, we fucking love you. Bring it. Bring all your code over here. I'm gonna drink a lot of water today because I do not want to get sick. But I feel like my immune system is losing the battle against the germs that my son brought home. This kind of approach of using interfaces to declare only what you need is very important in software design and will be covered in more detail in later sections. Table-driven tests are useful when you want to build a list of test cases that can be tested in the same manner. So we have a set of area tests, which is basically a slice of a struct, a slice of structs. Then we define some fields. We need a shape, and then we also need a value we expect. Matthias, thanks for subbing, man. Appreciate you. And then we're just going to range over our slice, and execute the area method, and then check if it's what we wanted. The only new syntax here is creating an anonymous struct. We are declaring a slice of structs by using the slice of struct. I don't know what you call this, declaration with two fields, the shape and the want. Then we fill the slice with cases. We then iterate over them just like we do any other slice using the struct fields to run our tests. You can see how it would be very easy for a developer to introduce a new shape, implement area, and then add it to the test cases. Yes, it would be very easy. Write the test first. Okay. Give it a go. I actually love this style of testing. I use this style of testing a lot in XUnit and C# land. They have something in C# world. They have something or at least in the XUnit land, in the C# world, they have something called test theory data. That's really nice to work with. So I very much fuck with this approach of having test-driven or data-driven tests. Big fan. Big fan. Huge fan of data-driven tests. Alright, so he introduced a new shape, see? Triangle. But we haven't implemented that yet. Try to run the test. Yep, the test will fail. I know they will. We do not have a defined triangle yet. Yep. We need to implement area, and then everything should be happy. So let's go do that. So we'll go over here. Go with this guy. We'll add a new type. Type is going to be, what's the type? Triangle. That's the word you were looking for. Implicit versus explicit. Yeah, implicit versus explicit. Most of the time I prefer explicit things. I don't want there to be a lot of magic. I appreciate magic, but before I use magic, understand magic. Okay, so we need a height, float 64. We need a base, which is float 64. And then we need a function that has a receiver type of, or a receiver named T that is of type triangle. Then we're gonna do T.height, whoops, times T.base times 0.5. Yep. So now if we go back to our, oh my goodness, can't remember how to switch tabs. Go test. Everyone's happy again. Yay! Dude, there's no way we're getting through 5 lessons today. There's no way. Okay, again, the implementation is fine, but our test could do with some improvement. When you scan this, it's not immediately clear what all the numbers represent, and you should be aiming for your test to be easily understood. So far, you've only been shown syntax for creating instances of structs, but you can optionally name the fields. Let's see what it looks like. Nice. Yep, we can name our fields. In test-driven development by example, Kent Beck refactors some tests to a point and asserts. The test speaks to us more clearly as if it were an assertion of truth, not a sequence of operations. I like that. Yeah? You guys like that quote? I like that. Now our tests, rather the list of test cases, make assertions of truth about shapes and their areas. Make sure your test output is helpful. We knew this was in relation to a triangle because we were just working with it, but what if a bug slipped into the system in one of 20 cases in the table? How would a developer know which case failed? This is not a great experience for the developer. You're right, it's not. It's a terrible experience for the developer. We can change our error message into %#v got %g, want %g. The %#v format string will print out our struct with the value in its fields so the developer can see at a glance the properties that are being tested. Great. We can rename the want field into something more descriptive like has area. Wonderful. One final tip with table-driven test is to use t.run and to name the test cases. By wrapping each case in a t.run, you will have clear test output on failures as it will print the name of the case. So where does it print the name? Oh, this, I guess this is saying this would be the name, test area rectangle. And you can run specific tests within your table with go test-run test area /name. Here's our final test code. So here's our table. This is our data. This is the code that's going to actually run it. So we gave a name field to the struct. Then we call area. And then we're doing the %#v sign or pound sign. What do you call this? You guys call this a hashtag or you guys call this a pound sign? I feel like if you were born before social media, you probably refer to it as a pound sign. But if you were born after social media, you probably call it a hashtag. Generations. Curly braces. We love curly braces. I also feel like I learn more when I rest after I've worked or while I'm sleeping. I feel wiser in the morning. I think that's scientifically proven that sleeping is very important for learning. There's some process that happens while you're sleeping that helps you like consolidate and process information. I called it number sign, then pound, now hash. Oh, I forgot about number sign. Number sign would be good, yeah. Number sign is probably more universal, right? But yeah, it's kind of funny how the sign, like to your point about calling it one thing and now calling it another. Times change, man. Times change. Okay, we're supposed to do 5 lessons today. We just finished the first one. Which is not really a big deal, but I don't know if we're gonna make it through 5. We need to get through mocking. This one. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're gonna try to get through pointers and errors. The thing is, I should be able to kind of speed run some of this because we just came from Tour of Go, right? This is if we're looking back at our test plan. Like we just came from Tour of Go, so some of this, like we're being taught the same information twice. So we did Tour of Go, so we can I think we can move a little faster through some of these, honestly, and I think we'll be okay. Before we do that, though, I'm going to get more coffee. That's what I'm going to do first. Which, of course, I don't expect you guys to stick around and hang out here while there's an empty chair on stream. So if you need to go, I totally get it. If you're gonna stay, appreciate you. BRB went to get coffee. Boom. Alright, I'm gonna mute myself. I'll be right back. I'm just gonna run upstairs, refill the coffee cup, and come back. Hey, back from the night market. Nice, dude. Glad to have you back. Renee, is it for comments in Golang hashtag? I think comments in Go are just forward slashes. I think there's two different ways you can do comments in Go, actually. Let's see. Comments in Go. Nope, just one way. Or I guess there's multi-line. So the same way you do comments in JavaScript. Here or here. I know the pound sign is used for comments in some language. I just don't remember what it is. Or some file format. I don't remember what file format uses it. Does Python use it for comments, maybe? Norsik. Hey, Steven, how's it going? I'm back. What's up, Norsik? How are you doing? Good to see you. I'm watching on the side while messing around with WSL. Very cool. We love WSL. We love Linux running on Windows. Even better if we can get... Oh, I saw a video the other day of somebody had... Or a screenshot. Somebody had Omarchi installed on their machine, and they had a Windows VM on their Linux machine, and then in the Windows VM they had WSL set up. This is the, modern computing. Jack, which CLI tool are you using for the activity monitor? I use a tool called Bottom. So I'm on a Windows machine, but I do use Linux. So I use Bottom because it's cross-platform. So I can use it across Linux, Mac, and Windows. And it's a pretty great little tool. I might have a command set up for this actually in Stream Elements. Let me see. Bottom. No, maybe not. Maybe I need to add one real quick. I'll post the link though right here in chat real quick. At chat. There you go. There's the link, man. That should hook you up. But before I go and get coffee, I'm gonna add this really quick. LL, they named it Bottom as an alternative to Top. Yeah, I think it was a play on words. I honestly don't know, but if I had to guess, that's what they were trying to do, Add new command. What do we want the new command to be named? We'll just name it Bottom. And that new command will just share the GitHub link. There we go. See if that works now. There we go. Yep, there we go. Windows with WSL with Linux container running Windows. Yeah, modern computing. I love WSL 2. The only issue I have with it is its speed at times, although in all fairness, haven't optimized. Yeah, and its speed is particularly noticeable if you're going through WSL and you're accessing the file system on the host machine. To me, there's particularly a noticeable difference. Not that it's like slow, but if you compare it to how things feel when you're accessing things on the Linux machine versus the Windows host, I notice a difference. Assembly, Bash, Python use number sign for comments. Yeah, that's what I thought. I'm doing fine. Whether you're doing Norsec, we're learning Go at the moment is what we're doing. I was in my school lab today, and the computers run Windows 10. Does Windows 10 not have a terminal and just the command prompt? I'm gonna install Kali Linux on one of the PCs by flash drive. I think Windows 10 had PowerShell, and I think you can install. I mean, Windows 10 is coming into life, but yeah, it should have command prompt by default. But you should be able to put other shells on it, Git Bash and things like that. I've been messing with sysinternal procmock and proc explorer are pretty powerful. I've never used those, but pretty cool. Good to know. Looks pretty nice, nicer than what I've been using. Thanks. Of course, man. Yeah, I hope you find it helpful. All right, we're off to refill the coffee cup. I'll be right back. If you're leaving, thank you. Thank you for coming and watching the stream. If you're staying, I'll be right back. Hair's a little bit of a mess this morning, huh? I'm back. Aeronautical plus cybersecurity? Now that sounds like a fun career. I'm catching up on what I missed. I'm an UNC status too. Feeling old. Alright. I'm all caught up. I think I'm all caught up. So we get to learn about pointers now, I think. Alright. Pointers and errors. So we learned about structs in the last section, which let us capture a number of values related around a concept. At some point, you may wish to use structs to manage state, exposing methods to let users change the state in a way that you can control. FinTech loves Go and Bitcoins. Gun! Let's go! Gun's a member! We need to go and update the member file. This is so stupid that I have to do this every time. I have to do this. This should just be automated, but fucking YouTube. I'm gonna pin test for my school. Nice. We're gonna get your name up on the screen, Gun. Thanks for being a member, man. I promised and I fulfill my promises. Well, that's very kind of you, man. Let me get your name up on the scrolly bar. Let's see, snippet. Continue. Don't. I've submitted help to support tickets about it. Nobody wants to help me. I guess I'm just too small of a creator. We have 103 members. Let's go. All right. Then we gotta go. Then we gotta come back over to the terminal. So basically, what I have to do is I have to go to the API Explorer. I have to make a call to get all my members back. Then I have to take those members, put them in a JSON file, and then I use a little script that I wrote to convert that JSON to a list of members, which is what you see scrolling across your screen. Member monitor CD membership monitor .net index.cs. Boom. Now the file's updated, and now Gun's name should appear up on the screen after a bit. I'm very appreciative to anybody who would become a member. We all work very hard for our money, so the fact that you would give me any of your money is very kind. I would be a financial member if I was like 18 and a half. Oh, dude, don't even worry about it, RO Studios. I mean, I appreciate all my subs and people who come hang out with me on stream, you know. I appreciate you guys too. How old would you be 5 years later, Steven? Well, I'm 32 now, so in 5 years I'll be 37. God, in 5 years my son will be almost driving. Norsec, do you have a job, Steven? Yes. Yep, I just stream for fun. And make content on YouTube for fun. Yeah, I'm 32. I have 2 kids. I have a 9-year-old and a 7-year-old, a 4th grader and a 2nd grader. I work 40 hours a week, 50 hours a week, just like everybody else. I work at a company. You can look at all my professional history if you just type, if you go to linkedin.stephenfreeborn.com, it'll take you to my profile. You're welcome to connect with me there, creep on my professional history there if you want. But yeah, I work a 40-hour job like everybody else. I just do this for fun. I mean, if I can make money doing this for fun, even better. But how I support me and my family is by actually having a, not that streaming, not that content creation or streaming is not a real job, but I just I I support my family like through a typical standard, corporate type of job. Have you ever Google dorked yourself? What does that mean? Google dorked? I don't know what that means. You mean like Googled myself? For sure I've Googled myself. Hasn't everybody Googled themselves? Boris, is your work related to tech or programming? Yes, it is. So I work for a software company that we make a web-based kind of low code, no code business. Like if you know like ServiceNow, or if you know of Salesforce, right? We make a platform kind of similar to that. It's designed to be more focused to like government risk and compliance use cases, right? So people who are doing like audit or SOC compliance. So it's some of the applications of the software can feel kind of dry, but the software itself is pretty cool. And then my role at the company is I'm a quality engineer, so I work on our QA team. I do automated and manual testing for the software we build. It's a good gig. Like programmer or something. Yeah, so some of my job involves programming, some of it's just participating in the normal kind of software development life cycle. But it's a good gig. It's a lot of fun. The people I work with are super nice. The company treats me well. They give me a lot of autonomy. They treat me like an adult. Do your work. We're not going to have any issues. Get to work from home. And I mentioned this before. Like I didn't always work though in technology. Before this, I worked in food. Sky High, what's up, Sky High? So before I was doing like product development related to software, I was doing product development related to food science. So I would like develop things for big customers. Like if you've ever had Taco Bell, I've developed things for Taco Bell, Applebee's, Walmart, Costco, all those types of stores and retailers. Google dorking is like something hackers use to get info on their target. Search it up. Google dorking is just Googling precious info. If it is available, gather info like, oh, interesting. Yeah, I did not know that's what it was called. Yeah, I'm sure there's plenty of precious info. I mean, I've been making content and stuff on the internet for a long time now. There's lots of YouTube videos, lots of blog posts. I'm sure there's stuff out there. For sure. Basically digital footprint. Yeah, well, I've got one of those. There's definitely. I mean, I do my best to kind of practice, good basic operational security when it comes to that kind of stuff, But I'm sure if there was somebody who wanted to turn their attention to my life and make it hell, they probably could. I try to avoid angering others. Although I'm also not very good at that. Let's make a wallet Struct which lets us deposit Bitcoin. Okay, let's set up a new directory here. We'll say pointers, and then we'll just do package.go, package.test, and then we need to do a go mod. Wait, I forgot, what are shells again? Like bash shells? So shells are like what allow you to actually provide text-based input and commands to the machine, right? So you got terminal. The terminal is like the application that hosts your shell, In my case, that's Windows Terminal. And then the shell is the program that actually like provides the functionality to actually put inputs right into the machine. And if I'm wrong about that, obviously you guys can correct me, because you know I'm fine with not knowing everything. But that's how I conceptually would think about it, right? Try Hack Me, Hack the Box. Hack the Box is a lot of fun. I've never done Network Chuck courses, but I like Network Chuck. But the Hack the Box is definitely fun. Dang, my channel no longer shows up. Oh, that's too bad, dude. Well, maybe it's just you haven't posted enough content. Maybe if you start posting more content, it'll rank again. All right, let's see what this test is doing. So put our test in there. Package main. We'll do import testing. So we have a wallet. Our wallet's going to have the ability to deposit. We're going to have the ability to check our balance. And then we're just asserting that if we deposited $10, when we check the balance, there should be $10 in it, or 10 whatever, 10 Bitcoin. So we need to come over here and we need to say package main, and we need to define a type called wallet. That is a struct, and for now it just doesn't have any fields. And then if we run our tests, this will fail, obviously, because wallet.deposit is undefined and wallet.balance is undefined. So we need to implement those methods. Write the minimal amount of code for the test to run and check the failing test output. The compiler doesn't know what a wallet is, so let's tell it. Okay, I already did that. We need to define these methods. Yes, we do. If this syntax is unfamiliar, go back and read the struct sections. Okay, it's not unfamiliar, but I would like to type it so that I have some reps. So we want to have a method called deposit. The method called deposit is going to have a receiver named W that is of type wallet. The method is going to be deposit. It's going to have no arguments. It's going to return... What should it return? Should it return a float 64? An int. I guess we are supposed to, unless we have a really good reason to, we're supposed to always use int, right? That was what we read in Tour of Go. So we'll just return 0 for now. And then we need a func that has a receiver type named W of type wallet. A receiver named W of type wallet that checks the balance. And this also returns an int. Like that. So then if we go back and we run our tests, too many arguments in call to wallet. What? Oh, deposit should take a number. So deposit should have an argument. So this should be amount, maybe is what we'll call it. That'll be an int, and we'll just return the amount for now, so we don't get a not used error, an unused. So we'll go test, and it fails, which we would expect, and now we just need to implement this. So the whole point of this lesson is they're going to show us, like, you can store state on your structs, and then you need to be able to reference that particular struct, that instance of the struct, right, with a pointer. That's basically what they're going to show us. We will need some kind of balance variable in our struct to store the state. In Go, if a symbol starts with a lowercase symbol, then it is private outside the package it's defined in. In our case, we want our methods to be able to manipulate this value, but no one else. Remember, we can access the internal balance field in the struct using the receiver variable. Okay. So we'll add a new field up here. This will be called balance. It needs to be lowercase. Then down here, we will say return balance plus and reassigned by the amount passed in. And then here we will return balance. Why is this complaining? Can I not return it? Do I have to W balance equals amount? Okay, I'll have to do that. Go test. Oh no, it still failed. What the hell did you just say? What? What? I don't know what I said, Norsik. Skeletor goat. Hello, Skeletor goat. That's why they call it a shell, because it wraps the kernel. Boris, you're a smart man. Let me scroll up. I'm trying to... sure, no problem, Steven. I find your stream very entertaining. It's fun, and I support what is fun, especially that you got a lot of good stuff on GitHub. Oh, nice. Well, thanks for looking at my GitHub. Yeah, I've been building that thing up for a while now. And you said yourself, open source doesn't mean free. Yeah, but like if I put something on my GitHub that's open source, right? Like I expect people to use it. I don't expect compensation, you know what I mean? But I appreciate those people who do want to become members and support the channel. It's very kind. Steven, you should try Over the Wire. It's a game which teaches you Windows and Linux. Okay, yeah, I'll have to add that one to the list. I've got a long running list of things to try. Artwork Studios, 110 videos? Congrats, man. Some people don't even make one. This has me wanting to learn Go. I hear it's good for networking, so I might build a socket API as an introductory project. Yeah, that'd be fun. Are you using Windows? Yes, I'm using Windows. What's Go? Go is just a programming language, Norsik. Boris, this sounds very object-oriented, but Google says Go is imperative and procedural. Yes, it does sound... That was what I was saying earlier, is that people have always told me that Go has more of a functional spin. But in my opinion, if you're using pointers with structs with methods on them and interfaces, you're kind of... Like, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but you're kind of down a object-oriented rabbit hole, right? At that point, you got interfaces, you've got instances of objects, and you've got methods that mutate the state of those objects. I don't know. That sounds a lot like encapsulation and abstraction to me, doesn't it? Your stream is growing, Steven? Nice. Well, I'm glad. I'm glad that maybe some other people who kind of fuck with what I'm doing, you know, are finding my way here. Hey, what's up, Kyle? Good morning. Good to see you, friend. What OS are you on? I'm using Windows. Sorry, I think I'm falling behind on chat, but I think I answered you earlier. But I'm using Windows. My videos get like max 3 viewers. Dude, don't let that get you down, though. You know, Artwork Studios, make content that you enjoy, right? And then if you enjoy making the content and you enjoy the content, and if other people don't watch it or view it, it's still okay because you still got the enjoyment of making the thing, right? It's like code. It's like solving your own problem with code. Even if no one else uses that code, you got the enjoyment of writing it and solving your problem. That's been my approach with content creation. I had 20 viewers on my channel in January of this year. I had 20 subs in January of this year after 10 years or 8 years of posting videos on that channel. Like, the reward is the process of making, in my opinion. That's the best way to make it sustainable. If you're in it for the views and the subs, you're not going to see the return that you would hope for, and then you'll get burned out. Boris, once I hear methods, I think OOP. Yes, I would totally agree with you. Methods instances of objects, interfaces, polymorphism. But your PowerShell looks different, or is it Windows 12? No, this is Windows 11. It looks different because, well, I think it looks different for a couple reasons. I'm using Windows Terminal, which is the newer terminal that Windows made. I don't know when it came out, but it's not command prompt. It's actually a separate application called Terminal. And then inside here, I'm using PowerShell inside the terminal, which you can use other shells in terminal, right? You can use all kinds of shells inside of terminal. But my prompt looks different because I'm using something called Oh My Posh, which is kind of like Oh My ZSH, but for PowerShell users. So if you're familiar with Oh My ZSH and the awesome work of Mr. Robbie Russell, so if you're familiar with Oh My ZSH, for you Linux and Mac users out there, Oh My Posh is basically the same thing, but for us PowerShell folks. So that's why my prompt on my shell looks the way it does. And then this thing that you see on your screen, this is NeoVim. So this is like a terminal-based editor, like a newer variant of Vim that's more kind of extendable and customizable. So hopefully that clears that up. But yes, it definitely does look different than the normal, typical command prompt setup. Dang, Steven, you use Windows 11? Yes, I do use Windows 11. Oh, hey, my wife's in the chat. Kelsey says, could you start over? I wasn't here until now. Hello, honey. Good morning. I think I might be getting what our son has. I've been blowing my nose all morning. Dang, Steven, you use Windows 11. I do use Windows 11. I use Terminal. I use NeoVim in PowerShell in Terminal on Windows 11, and people give me shit about it all the time. What's my favorite candy? I'm not, well, if I have to pick a favorite candy, it's some sort of gummy candy. If I had to pick. Also, I'm gonna pin my wife's comment where she's trolling me. I'm gonna replace my pinned message. If you get a wife that will troll you on stream, that's the key to a successful life. Do you use Linux? I only use Linux. I don't use Linux as like a daily driver, Trojan. I only use it primarily for servers. Like I have a couple servers that I have here in my house that I use Ubuntu, the server distribution of Ubuntu on. And then I have a VPS in Oracle's cloud that I use it on, but I don't really use any sort of GUI version. I pretty much stick in for the daily driver. I'm pretty much in Windows land. Trolling wife, happy life. Yes, this is what they say. Gun, I'm still using Notepad++. I was there 3,000 years ago when it was first developed. You know who else uses Notepad++ is Pirate Software. I didn't realize that. I was watching his stream the other day, and he actually uses Notepad++ quite a bit. And I was actually kind of surprised by that. I mean, it's a good application. Like, it definitely works, and it supports, like, every, whatever obscure, archaic thing you're doing, you can use Notepad++ to do it. Yeah, what Artwork Studio said. What she says goes, man. What she says goes. Glad you guys can chat to each other on YouTube. I'm scared of my wife. Hello, fellow NeoVim user and Gopher here, but I use Arch for development. Nice. You're one of the Arch, by the way, people. I would like to try Omarchy, which I hear is based on Arch, right? DHH's new creation in the Linux world. I would really like to try that. I think the next laptop I get will likely be something with with Omarchy. Like, I'll probably get the laptop, then swap the OS for the Omarchy thing, and then I too can say I use Arch, by the way. Gun, pirate software is shit. Oh wow, we have strong feelings about pirate software. Skeletor, Goat, do you use Visual Studio Code? I do. Yeah, actually, the NeoVim thing, the NeoVim thing didn't start till January of this year, like February. Yeah, February-ish. For those of you who may not know, there's a guy on YouTube. His name's Typecraft. He's a way better YouTuber than I am. way better content creator. Probably a way better software developer or engineer than I am too. But he has a really great YouTube channel. You should go subscribe to him. But so my NeoVim story is basically, I've been watching the Primeagen stream for like the last 2 years. And I always see him editing with NeoVim, and I'm like, damn, that looks so fun. But two of the things I do as part of my workflow is I like to write tests, and I like to be able to debug my tests. And I didn't see the Primeagen doing a lot of that in his workflow. And so I was skeptical that I could configure NeoVim to replicate what I was doing in Visual Studio Code. Then I watched Typecraft's series of videos called NeoVim for Noobs. And I watched all these videos in like an evening while laying in bed. And that's what convinced me to take the plunge. So I've been a long time VS Code user. That's what I used for the last 4 years primarily. And it wasn't until recently that I switched over to, and I still go back. I jump around. Some days it's NeoVim, sometimes it's Visual Studio Code. I move around a lot. Trogan, what is your LinkedIn name? You can just go to linkedin.stephenfreeborn.com and it'll take you right to the right profile. So linkedin.stephenfreeborn.com. I just stuck that in the chat there for you, man. Learn Go by test is 100. I've been having a really good time going through it. Yeah, we did two. So this was kind of our learning plan. We did tour of Go. Now we're trying to do Learn Go with tests, but Stephen keeps getting distracted by chat. And then eventually we're going to start looking at solving some old Advent of Code problems, because the real ultimate goal is this. We want to have fun doing Advent of Code in 2025 with Go, which just starts in December. So we got to we got to get moving. Omarchy is great. However, if you're a Windows homeboy, use Zorin OS like me. I've never heard of Zorin OS. That's a new one. Once you go Arch, you can never go back to Windows. So what you're telling me is if I buy a laptop and I put Arch on it, or if I put Omarchy on it, then I'm going to have to wipe all my Windows machines. What's the Discord? I wish I joined it. Oh, Discord is just, if you just go to Discord... I just saw my wife's comment. If you go to discord.stephenfreeborn.com, it'll just redirect you to the invite link. My wife said, well, stop talking, bro. Boris, it's got to be a ThinkPad, though. Yes, it does have to be a ThinkPad. ThinkPad is, I've got my eye on an X1 Carbon ThinkPad laptop. That or a Framework computer. Those are the two that I've been looking at over and over again. All right, we'll do what my wife says. We'll try to write some code here. Okay, this is confusing. Our code looks like it should work. We add the new amount onto our balance, and then the balance method should return the current state of it. In Go, when you call a function or a method, the arguments are copied, right? So this is the idea where a pointer comes in. This is the whole idea of like a struct, right? A struct is a value type. So every time we pass it or return it, or every time we pass it or use it as an argument, we're getting a copied value of it. And what we really want is we want that same instance. So we need to use a pointer. The W is a copy of whatever we call the method from, which I think this is good though, because this means you basically get immutability by default in a lot of cases, right? Which I think is the right decision. Immutability by default, and then when you need mutability, you have to explicitly sort of opt into it. Like, I think Rust is built around that same idea, where basically everything's immutable by default, right? And you have to work hard to avoid that, which I think is the right call. Get ThinkPad X1 Carbon Gen 10 Palladios. What's Advent of Code? Advent of Code is this really cool. I just have to give a shout out for all this stuff because behind all these things I'm talking about are real human beings that are pouring their life into this stuff, and so I think they deserve to be recognized. So Advent of Code is something that this gentleman Eric Wastel puts on. I think I'm saying his name right. He's a developer, but he spends all this time organizing this event every year. And the event is essentially, if you're familiar with like Elite Code, they're essentially like coding puzzles, and every day they publish a new one. So for the first 24 days of the month of December, each day they publish a problem. And then your job, or what you can do is you can then attempt to solve that problem. And the nice thing about it is there's a lot of people doing it. So it's kind of like you're a part of a group who's all working on the same thing. There'll be a bunch of Reddit posts about it. There'll be a bunch of people making YouTube content about it, posting on X, Blue Sky, all over the place. And then you can participate in it too. They also do leaderboards, so if you want to like get together with your coworkers or your friends and you guys want to have a leaderboard and you sort of compete to see who completes what sooner, or how many days does somebody get through. One different thing about this year is they're only doing 12 problems. So in the past, it was actually it was a problem every day, but it was a 2-part problem. And this year, they're doing 1 problem a day for 2 parts for each problem, right? Which I think probably is more manageable for most people, because 1 2-part problem for 24 days is a lot to commit to. But yeah, Advent of Code, shout out to them. If you're interested, it doesn't cost any money. It's free. It's publicly available. You just go to the site, sign in, right? Start doing the problems. It's a lot of fun. But I've done it the last 2 years in C#, so that's why we're learning Go, is just to kind of switch it up. It's also a good excuse if you need an excuse to learn a new language. It's a good excuse to learn a new language. Mr. JX Tur, use a pointer to mutate. Yeah, I think he's trying to walk us down, right? Trying to get us to see why you need pointers and what the use case is for them, right? My wife does not stream, Renee. She does play Dungeons and Dragons, though. She's a nerd like me. She just doesn't stream it. Palados, cool. It's only in Golang. No, you can use any language. I mean, some people just use Excel to solve the problems. So you can really solve the problems however you want. Most people do it in some programming language, but you can do it however you want. Hey Pablo, how's it going, man? D&D wife, yes. Yeah, she just got into D&D 2-3 years ago now. It's kind of newer thing for her, but she's really loving it. She's super into reading at the moment. That's her hobby. Lots of reading. Did you get to the 5 lessons? No, we're Pablo was the one yesterday that was like, "Hey buddy, you need to chop." No, he didn't say that. He was helping us kind of break down like how much progress we should make every day. And so we kind of counted it out, and we thought, well, could we do 5 of these a day for the next 3 days and get through all this? We are just beginning the second one, Pablo. Yes, we do need to chop. Sweet, I'll check it out, my friends. Thanks for sharing, man. I'll let you focus. Oh, no worries. Yeah, no, dude. I mean, do I want to write code on stream? Yes, but like I'm streaming, so I want to interact with you guys. So Kelsey said, bro. I'm so glad you opened chat to everyone. Did I open chat to everyone? I don't think I did. I think it's still subs only. If it's not subs only, I don't know. I don't know what happened. So maybe 3 today, 6 days is fine. Yeah, it should be. I think it's subs only in the chat. All right, we'll try. Let's try to focus here. Okay, so why? So okay, so why does this happen? Because we're not using a pointer, so we need to use a pointer. Um, let's see. When getting to computer without getting too computer sciencey, I love this. Without getting too computer sciencey, lock in, my guy. Yes. Okay, I'm locking in. I love my wife's messages. I'm gonna pin that one. That's fun. When you create a value like a wallet, it is stored somewhere in memory. You can find out what the address of that bit of memory with the ampersand, or the what do we call this? Do we call this the dereferencing? No, this is not the dereferencing operator. What's the AND operator called? AND operator in Go. The ampersand operator has, it's just literally called the ampersand operator, I guess. The dereferencing operator is the star, right? That's how we go from a reference to something in memory to the actual value of that memory. Okay, experiment by adding some prints to your code. Okay, I can do that. I know how to add prints to my code. Yeah, I checked, and chat is only... Okay, thanks for double checking. That's how I want it. I mean, I know people have given me shit about doing it that way, but I'm just trying to keep out some of the riffraff. Control tab, go test. The address of balance in test is blah, blah, blah. Cool. So, here we go. Function. Deposit. The address of balance in test. Oh, he wants us to add a print there too. The address of balance in test is this, and the address of balance in deposit is this. So they are two different. They're two different values, two different addresses. Note that we get the pointer of something by placing an ampersand character at the beginning of the symbol. Now rerun the test. Yes, we see that. You can see that the addresses of the two balances are different. So when we change the value of the balance inside the code, we are working on a copy of what came from the test. Therefore, the balance in the test is unchanged. We can fix this with pointers. Pointers let us point to some value and then let us change them. So rather than taking a copy of the whole wallet, we instead take a pointer to that wallet so that we can change the original values in it. The difference is the receiver type is a pointer of wallet rather than just a wallet, which you can read as a pointer to a wallet. Try and rerun the test and they should pass. Pointer and pointer. There are some weird people on YouTube Shorts live streams. I'm back now, never going through that rabbit hole. Well, that's why we have sub-only chat. Oh yeah, Pablo, my wife's in the chat. Yeah, there are some weird people. Or no, you already read that. People literally come just to troll. It's better to keep it as subs only. Yeah, that's the whole reason I did it, was to try to keep the trolls out. I don't know. I thought subs equals membership, the paid kind. No, so there's two different. So now YouTube has two different things. There's subs who are just subscribers to your channel, and so you can limit chat to just those people who basically essentially like follow you on YouTube. And then memberships is the paid thing. I do have a membership. It's like 99 cents for a month, I know, super. It's like it was. I just did it because I thought maybe some people would want to be a member, right? We've got some cool emotes, and I'm gonna try to publish some members only content from time to time if I can. But you can, so you can do both. You can do sub only chat and members only chat. But I feel like sub only chat is the nice middle ground because it's like probably most people who are trolling are not going to go and subscribe to all the channels they troll, and but it doesn't force people to pay money to participate in chat. So it's like a nice middle ground, in my opinion. I think Steven would love to make chat public, but the troll. Yeah, I would totally open it up to the public. It's just you get some people in here that just come in to get like a reaction, and I feel like my job a little bit when I'm streaming, or at least for my channel, I feel like one of my, maybe this is just like the dad in me, but like I feel like one of my jobs is to sort of protect our space, and like we should try to keep the riffraff out of the chat for you guys, to make it fun for you all, to make it fun for me. And so the sub only chat helps do that, I think. Keep the trolls. We do not want the 6-7 spam. At my kids' school for Halloween, some of the teachers dressed up as 6-7, which I thought was really funny, like reverse troll on the kids. Okay, so so we can kind of see. I think this was kind of cool that we added these print statements in. So this kind of drives the idea of pointers home a little bit. So now we can see when we are looking at the balance, we're looking at the same balance, right? The same place in memory. And now our test passed. So this is why, boys and girls, you need pointers so that you can mutate things. For real, 6-7 spammers are the worst. Pablo, that's amazing. Yeah, it was. Yeah, the teachers are clever, man. When you're in school, you just think teachers are like these people that are no fun, and they just stay at the school and never leave, and they just exist to assign you homework. But then you become an adult and you realize, oh man, the teachers are just regular old people like us trying to figure it out, you know? Most of them are very nice and clever human beings. Okay, so now you might wonder, why did they pass? We didn't dereference the pointer in the function. Yeah, so we didn't have to explicitly dereference. The tour of Go talked about this. This just happens implicitly. So seemingly address the object directly. In fact, the code above using the dereferencing operator is absolutely valid. However, the makers of Go deem this notation cumbersome. So the language permits us to write w.balance without an explicit dereference. These pointers to structs even have their own name, struct pointers, and they are automatically dereferenced. I think that was a good decision. I'm sure there's some people who don't think that implicitness is probably good in some cases, but I think that was probably the right decision. Technically, you don't need to change balance to use a pointer receiver, as taking a copy of the balance is fine. However, by convention, you should keep your method receiver types the same for consistency. This is interesting because he's saying a lot of the same things that Tour of Go said, which is nice. Like, having consistency across the languages community, I think, is good. We said we were making a Bitcoin wallet, but we have not mentioned them so far. We've been using int because they are a good type for counting things. It seems a bit overkill to create a struct for this. Int is fine in terms of the way it works, but it's not descriptive. Go lets you create new types from existing ones. The syntax is type, my name, original type. Oh, that's smart. Yeah. I mean, types are free, right? This is in C#. People don't use types enough. Or classes, whatever you want to call it. People don't use these enough. They're free. Like, your language provides them, so you should use them. You know, have you ever seen one of those methods in somebody's code base where it's like, do something and then the parameters are like all the same type, and so then it's really easy to like mix up what gets passed where, right? Like 3 ints as parameters to a method. That's just super mistake prone. Coming from C, I don't really like that. I kind of want everything to be explicitly done. If I see that, I think you're working with the address and not the actual value. Oh, yep. I could totally valid take. I think that line between what's implicit and what's explicit is just hard to strike for everybody, right? It's very style dependent. If I had to guess, I'll bet there's ways you can wire up linters in Go to force you to do this. Maybe I'm wrong, but if I had to guess, I bet this is like a stylistic thing that you could force people to do in a code base. Renee, as long as they're consistent. Yeah, exactly. So if you had one group of people doing this and the other one doing it implicitly, but I'm guessing you could set up some sort of linter, right, to probably catch this and error as part of maybe like a PR process or CI/CD process or something. Trogan, have you ever written React JS? Yes. Yeah, React's great, man. Yeah. I haven't written React much in the last year. I've kind of been on a Vue kick for the last year. So almost every front end thing that I've done since like January, or even maybe before that, like October of last year, has been in Vue. But React's great too, you know? Love you, honey. I'll be up there in a little bit, a half hour. I got about a half hour left. She's gonna go read. I swear, that's what she's doing. She's gonna go sit down and read. I tell you what, guys, this like finding your partner in life is like one of the best things you can do. I was lucky. I know it's not easy for everybody. I was lucky to find mine early, but it sure does make life a lot more fun. I never heard of learning a language with tests. That being said, I wonder if there's a learn C# or .NET with tests. Well, Harsh, maybe we could build that. I would love to build that. We should do that. But I agree, like the idea of learning a language with tests, this had never come up before this book was recommended to me. This website was recommended to me. But we should totally do that. Join my Discord and we'll start a projects channel and we can build a learn C# with test site. I think that'd be a lot of fun. We could even put in like a C# has really great support for WebAssembly, so we could even probably put in like a little we could probably make some of our code examples like interactive, right? Where you can actually run them in the browser. That'd be pretty cool. He has like 3 lessons to go through. Boris, she reads fiction or nonfiction? Mostly fiction, but mostly like fantasy, you know. Some non-fantasy, but like me and her both like kind of like, you know, think like Lord of the Rings or like Brandon Sanderson, books like that. You know, set in those kinds of worlds. He will not be there in half an hour. Renee, I vote for C# tests. Have you ever, let's see. Yeah, it seems very cool. Or didn't I answer you, Trogan? Didn't you ask me if I had written React already, or did I? Yeah, I've definitely written React, Trogan. I don't know if you heard me or missed it. Can I do the CSS? Yeah, that'd be fun. Yeah, we need to start a project around that. Yeah, that'd be a lot of fun. I mean, I think there's great. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying there aren't great resources out there to learn C# already. I like the idea of testing being something you lead with. Because I don't know about you guys, but most tutorials and things that I've ever watched or learned from, testing is very rarely discussed or talked about. Like they just fly through implementing features and building something, and no one ever is like, well, wait, we should probably set up a test framework and a test project, and which I know why they do that. Like I know why they don't, because obviously that would make the tutorial and the lesson much longer. But I don't think that's very helpful for you as a person who's like trying to become an engineer, trying to learn how to build things, because inevitably you are going to want tests, right? Morning, Tao. How are you? Good to see you. All C# resources out there suck. I want Steven to do it. Or maybe I should make a CSS file and then send it to you. You could, yeah. But maybe we can kick up a project like around that. That would be fun. I'm not really sure what it would look like, but maybe we can sort of use learn, go with, test as our inspiration and try to lay it out in sort of a similar concept and ideal way. I'm not saying we rip off learn, go with, test, but I more mean we use it as inspiration to how to organize something for C#. And we can give credit to the, we definitely can give credit to this website. Okay, back to pointers. I feel bad because Pablo's in the chat and he's just watching me completely bomb on actually making productivity or actually making progress on being productive. Okay, this is where we were. So we need to alias. We're basically going to alias the int type to Bitcoin. So let's go back over here. Type Bitcoin is int, and then we can change this to Bitcoin, and then we can just change all these types, right? You have to change all of them. Bitcoin. God, I wish I had invested in Bitcoin, huh? Don't we all? Makes me sad. You learn some other things with C#. Yeah, we'd have to like mold it definitely to fit the whole C# world a little bit better. Microsoft website isn't that bad. It's good for learning, but it's a very good reference. Yeah, it's not good for learning, but it's very good reference. Yes, I will agree with that. Microsoft docs are very detailed, kind of seem a little not user friendly, but if you need to look something up, it's there. Totally agree with that. Pablo, I'm saying you should definitely do that project. Yeah, I think it would be good. I think it'd be a lot of fun. Now, before we release, we need some testers. Yeah, I wish I invested 10,000 in Bitcoin. Me too, man. Me too. I did read an article yesterday. Somebody is predicting Bitcoin goes to 250,000 in the next 70 days. That seems aggressive. Renee, especially now with the new .NET SDK, we need a new tutorial via tests. Yeah, and now there's a whole new testing platform too, Renee. There's a whole new testing platform. I think that the difficult thing with the .NET world is we'd probably have to pick an approach. Like, I think to make it doable, we'd probably want to be like, okay, we're going to use Visual Studio Code in the CLI, right? That's the most accessible to everybody. It's probably what the most people are going to want to start with these days, and just like ignore the fact that Visual Studio exists. I wouldn't be able to stream and code. Yeah, well, I don't do a very good job of it. I talk and then I code, and then I talk and I code. I don't do either at the same time. Which is why it's taking me way too long to get through all this. Let's see. So we need to update our tests. So we need to basically do a cast, right? That's what we're doing here. We need to cast the 10 to the Bitcoin type. Let's go over to our tests. And we will change this to Bitcoin. Like that. And then, oh yeah, we also need to do this here. Go test. Though Steven's going to make the CLI, because no way, Jose, I can make... well, I mean CLI, I mean like the .NET CLI is what I mean. That's what I mean. You just grab a documentation site, then write the content on stream and discuss with people if the code and writing is good. Yeah, I agree with you. I think it'd be a really fun project. And I'd love to be able to crowdsource other people who are kind of C# devs. I'd love to be able to have them offer their opinion, you know, because the way my brain thinks about things or learns things is not how I know everybody's does. So it'd be nice to kind of have a little bit of input from more than just a singular human being if something makes sense or something could be better, you know. We could just have a GitHub repo, people could open PRs, you know, and then merge stuff in. host competitions? Yeah, I don't know about that's what Harvard CS50 does. They put VS Code and the CLI in the browser. Yeah, that would be cool. I don't know if I would want to put. That seems like a big project. Putting a whole instance of VS Code on your website. I would just like to make the examples like interactive, right? Where you could basically make these instead of people having to come from here, kind of like the way Tour of Go is, right? I think that would be much more approachable for a lot of people. Although you could argue there's value in forcing people to set up their local dev environment. Yeah. What Pablo said, I would not bother with a playground. That's a different project. Yeah. Yeah, because I think like there is value in having somebody install Go, right? And like figure out how to set up their editor and like that's an important step, right? In like learning to code and learning to build things. By doing this, we're making a new type and we can declare methods on them. This can be very useful when you want to add some domain-specific functionality on top of existing types. Let's implement stringer on Bitcoin. Oh, we learned about stringer in Tour of Go, didn't we? This interface is defined in the format package and lets you define how your type is printed when used with the %s. Okay, let's implement that. I'm not really sure. I actually need to spend some time reading some other people's Go code. Like, I'm pretty sure Oh My Posh is written in Go, now that I think about it. GitHub. I'm pretty sure Oh My Posh is written in Go. But I need to spend some time reading some other people's Go code to kind of understand, like, what are the conventions for organizing things in your files? This is the guy who makes Oh My Posh. Yawn. I wonder if that's how you say his name. Yawn. I'm guessing it's Yawn and not Jan. Wow, he has 2.2 million downloads. That's crazy. Excuse me. What am I doing? Oh, I'm pretty sure this is all in Go. Let's see. Packages. No, source. I'm guessing that's where it's at. Source. CLI. Yeah, it's all in Go. So I want to spend some time like reading through some of this code base to see how people like to organize. Like, see, this file just has a singular function in it, right? Is that common? Like, is that how a lot of people do things? See, this has a struct, or this has. This looks like it's just a. Yeah, single function that is a init. Anywho, back to, not to get distracted. I always thought Oh My Posh was written in C#. No, I guess not. Yeah, I didn't know it was written in Go till a couple weeks ago when we were poking around, trying to figure out how to do the whole viewer count thing. When we were trying to implement this like viewer count in my Oh My Posh config, that's when I learned that it was written in Go. There's no passing. It's just docs. There's no exam. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think I'd want to do anything like that. I just think it would be cool to introduce C# in the context of writing tests. Exams are so last decade. Okay, so we implemented that. Now what does it want us to do? Now next we need to update our test format strings so they will use string instead. Oh, %s, yes, %s. To see this, deliberately break the test. Okay, so we'll go back to our test function, and we will do %s, %s, but we'll break this and we'll set this to 20. Yeah, nice. Okay, very cool. Oh my goodness. Why does it think my... Oh, there we go. So there's that's our stringer implementation coming through. I like that. It's kind of like overriding the toString method in C#. Basically, if you implement the stringer method on a type, it's like you're overriding the toString in C#, which is convenient, super convenient. Okay, the next requirement is for a withdrawal function. Write the test first. Pretty much the opposite of deposit. Okay. We're going to copy the test code. Then we'll implement the withdrawal ourselves. Delete that. Okay, obviously this is complaining because we don't have a withdraw. So we'll go over here. And remember, our receiver needs to be a pointer, right? Because we're gonna actually decrement, or we're gonna remove from the balance. So we're gonna do func, and we're gonna have a receiver named W, and it's gonna be a pointer to a wallet, and we're gonna call this withdraw. And this is gonna have an amount to withdraw, which is gonna be of type Bitcoin, which is really just an int under the hood. Also, if you guys are ever like, why does he talk while he writes code? I think actually talking while you write code actually helps you remember what you're doing a little bit better, in my experience. It also makes it much easier when you're working with other people and you're trying to explain what you're doing. Like when I've done interviews, like coding interviews, I feel like the fact that I've done a lot of streaming while coding has actually helped in those interviews, because a lot of times in the interviews they want you to like talk out loud. They want you to they want to hear your inner thought process. And so streaming has kind of been a way that I've been able to practice that a lot. So I try to stick with that. Let's see, amount, and then return W balance, I think. Let's see, go test. Nice, we did it. Fantastic. I've heard of using .NET script run or something like that. Hold on, where are we at? Because I have something to share on that. I actually heard you can now run C# through PowerShell and put it in scripts to have interactive components. Free Code Camp exists if you want to give certifications. Yes, it does. Yeah, Free Code Camp has a great, it has a foundational C# certification they did in partnership with Microsoft. So if you're interested in that, you should definitely go check it out. I've heard using .NET script run or something. So in .NET 10, which is not yet out, so this is, let's see, .NET list SDKs. So there's a release candidate for .NET 10 currently that you can go and get. And .NET 10 will actually release next week. So .NET Conf is next week. I actually took off work for .NET Conf next week. But in .NET 10, they're introducing the ability to do this. You can now do .NET index.cs, and it will run the code in your index.cs. There is some existing ways out there that you can do that similar thing today, but it requires other dependencies. This is something that's being built into the .NET CLI and the runtime to support what they're calling single file apps. So you can start with a very simplistic C#, script, and then if it eventually grows in complexity to where you need to basically scale up into the traditional project system, they actually have a command that will convert your
your single file apps into proper project apps, which is pretty cool. Are you going to go to the conf? No, it's .NET Conf is always online. It's just a virtual event, but I'll be watching it all 3 days. I think it's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. It's all online, which is nice, right? That makes it the most accessible to the most people. The big .NET developer conference that's in person is called MS Build, and that's usually in the summer. I'd like to go to that one year. That'd be a blast to be able to go. Wow, what tool is that? I always do single file. You mean .NET, the thing that I just showed, .NET index.cs? This functionality? So this is coming in .NET 10. So if you have the .NET 10 SDK on your machine, you can do things like this now. Learn C# with test could potentially... Yes, and I think that would be a really cool way to introduce... Like, I think if I was to write Learn C# with test, I'd want to write it in such a way that it feels comfortable for people who are coming from non-C# land or non.NET land, right? Like think of writing it for people who are coming from TypeScript, right? Where in TypeScript, people are used to being able to do, node index.ts now, because now you can strip types, or index.js, right? So I think that's where we could use Visual Studio. We could use the new .NET 10 SDK and the CLI, and we could give people like a really lightweight experience to kind of start getting their feet wet in C#. So that another great idea, Pablo. Pablo has all the good ideas, including trying to get me to focus on learning Go. The one where single app becomes multi-file. I can look that up really quick. .NET 10 single file app. Yes. So this guy wrote a pretty good article on it. Where is it? So you can do all the normal stuff. Like you can add packages, you can mess with properties, you can do all that. It's .NET project convert is the command. So if you have a single file app that looks like his example here, right? So you can have all this in an app in a single file, and if you decide you need to go to like a proper C# project, then you could run the .NET project convert and point it at that file, and it will turn it into, a regular old C# project, which is pretty cool. Also, shout out to Andrew Locke, because every time I go searching for .NET stuff, I end up on his blog. The fact that the latest .NET I used before Unity was .NET 7. Well, that's not terribly crazy. I mean, .NET 8 is the current LTS. So you're not too far behind. Steven, are you going to do a vid on the .NET conference? I don't know if I'll do a vid. Maybe we could do like a watch party. I don't know. I don't have much of a desire to become I want to create content around C# and .NET, but I don't have a terrible desire to become like a .NET commentator, right? Like, if there's something I see that's cool during the conference, maybe I'll make a video about it, but I'm not really interested in making content that's like 10 cool things that happened at .NET Conf, right? There's other people already doing that. Like Nick Chopsis will probably have videos. Tim Corey will have. There's already people that are making great content, and I don't have a ton to add in that space. Renee, where is Unity's compatibility at now with C#? I have no idea. I've never done anything with Unity, so I'm just horribly terrible at answering that question. I would hope it's good, is what I would hope. Pablo, watch party sounds fun. Yeah, watch party I think would be a blast. I mean, that's what I'll be doing for those 3 days, is I'll just be sitting here probably like tinkering and have the stream up. So we could stream that stream. Let's get super meta. I want to understand what's cool and what is not relevant. I don't use C#, so would like to hear what you have to say. I don't watch C# content other than you. Yeah, for sure. I think that'd be fun. Yeah. I'd like to introduce more people to it, you know, especially people who come from existing programming and coding and engineering backgrounds, right? I would like, I don't know, I'd like to try to make C# cool, you know? I don't think it really is, people don't think of it as being one of the cool hip languages, but I really enjoy it. And so if I could get people to look at C# at the way they look at TypeScript, right? That would be a pretty cool accomplishment. So the video is GUI with batch files by Ebola Man. I remember it had something interesting about PowerShell and C# integration, but I forgot exactly what. Yeah, I think there's something that exists out there called C# script or something like that kind of gives you the same single file app kind of thing, but the stuff that's coming in 10 is sort of baked in, right? And whenever things are baked in, they're usually better, right? Or if you just having to install one less dependency is usually a win, right? If you already have the SDK, why can't you just run C# files as script files? All right, we already did all this. There's some duplication in our test. Let's refactor that out. Oh, okay. I'm just going to create a little helper method here. And then we'll come down here and we'll say, I think we'll say assert. Oops. Assert balance, pass in the T, pass in the wallet, I think, right? Wallet. And then what else do we have? We had to pass in the want. We don't need the got anymore. I wonder if this will work though. So address of balance and deposit is this. So these are two separate. Oh, that's because there's two tests. That's why. I was like, wait a minute. I need to remove that print statement. Okay, look at us making progress. We're learning about pointers, but we still haven't got to the section on errors. What should happen if you try to withdraw more than is left in the account? For now, our requirement is to assume there's not an overdraft facility. You should not have overdraft on your bank accounts, people. This is how you turn it off. Turn off overdraft protection. Java and C# are similar. Everyone keeps telling me that, you know? And I think Pablo at one point was kind of educating me a little bit about, like, or maybe it wasn't Pablo. Somebody in chat that was kind of educating me about the fact that C# was sort of Microsoft's answer to Java, or try to answer the Java craze. I've never written any Java though. I've only read it, and just reading it on its face, it looks like C#. So, but I'd have to take your word for it. Yeah, it's like a deliberate thing, not some interesting workaround. Yeah, whenever something becomes, whenever something transitions from a workaround to being officially supported, this is always a W. I have overdraft. I use it often. Pablo, J Sharp. Yeah, I think that it was Pablo that told me that. Yeah, Java, J++, J Sharp, C Sharp. Yes. So at some point, I will complete that cycle by going from C Sharp back to Java, right? That's I will go full circle. Yes, Pablo is definitely one of my most helpful chatters. Indeed. They are used for the same things, but Java is way more object oriented. Yeah, I think C Sharp's though heavily object oriented. I mean, I think C Sharp has done a lot of work to bring some functional paradigms into the language, but I mean, everything still has to belong to a class, whether that class is static or not, right? It still has to. Yeah. What programming language did they teach you in college? So, Tyler, I don't have a traditional um, programming background. So, I actually didn't go to school for computer science or software engineering or anything like that. My degree is in biochemistry. But I did take programming 1 and programming 2 as electives in college, and they taught both those classes in C sharp. I actually found some of my homework the other day. I was looking at my Google Drive, and I actually found some of my homework from that class the other day. Let me see if I can pull it up. But yeah, it was kind of interesting to look back and realize that C sharp was the first language, because I couldn't remember exactly what it was taught in. Let's see, archives. Where is it? Fall. This would have been fall of 2024. Yeah, computer programming. Yeah, it's kind of wild to look back on this stuff. It's like a whole other life, you know. Now 10 years after graduating. Yeah, here's some of the homework. C Computer Information Science 110. Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of wild to look back on this. I had so much fun in this class, though. I had so much fun in Computer Programming 1 and in Computer Programming 2. They were just a lot of fun. But I was already a senior in college. You know, I mean, I was already like 4 years into a degree. There was no switching majors at that point. uh, I literally just downloaded the Cengage biochemistry book. Nice. What's a good introductory TypeScript project? Oh man, that's a good one. I always feel like a calculator is a really good project for like a web calculator project. I always feel like that's a really good introductory project for web development, because you obviously you have the design, right? Like you've got the UI that you have to figure out, and you have to build in interactivity. But then the logic, there's actually some pretty serious logic involved with programming like a functional calculator, right? Assuming you don't just use eval, but you shouldn't just use eval, because that's not that's not the way to do it. But I feel like that's a good, like I've built a couple now at this point. I built a calculator as part of Free Code Camp, and I also built a calculator as part of the Odin project. But each time I've done it, I've just been reminded that like this is a good introductory project for somebody who's just starting out. The one I built for the Odin project was actually more fun because I was a little bit further on in my programming journey. So I replicated the iPhone calculator. I tried to replicate the iPhone calculator. And this the best part is this time up here actually does like update. But this was, yeah, I feel like this is a good project for people to do, because you obviously have to learn like how to deal with the DOM, right? You have to interact with the DOM, you have to interact with CSS, and then obviously you have all the logic for programming the actual calculator itself so that it can do math. Maybe not the most, I don't know, maybe not the most novel, right? But you learn a lot. Put the eval in the bag, bro. Just build a string and pass it to eval. Call it good. Boris, nice. Yeah. Yeah. That'll be fun. It's the small details that make the difference. Yeah, it's always those sprinkles of things that you as the person building it really cared about, right? No one else will probably notice and they won't think twice about it, but it was something you cared about enough to add. Tyler, if you took a computer science degree like me, they'd have made you do so much Java you'd be sick of it. Yeah, but Java's used, right? Like quite a bit in large industry. Like Amazon, I think uses Java, right? Netflix, large portion of Netflix's backend is Java. So, it's useful, right? Like it's for as much as people like kind of don't like it, or it seems like there's a general a dissatisfaction with it. Like it's very useful. You're very employable if you know Java. Code janitor duty, Java. Well, every developer job, right, becomes a code janitor duty. Very few engineers actually get to work on greenfield things. I will defend Java to the death. Okay, what should happen if you try? Yeah. Okay, so this is where they're going to introduce the idea of errors. In Go, if you want to indicate an error, it is idiomatic for your function to return an error for the caller to check and act on. Let's try this in a test. Also, I realize it's 7 o'clock, so we'll do this last little bit here, and then I gotta run. I think I just missed one of the closing brackets. Oh no, I didn't. It's just not formatted. Okay, why is this complaining about nil? Invalid operation error equals nil. Mismatch types Bitcoin and untyped nil. Oh, that's because my function doesn't return an error currently, right? Yeah, wallet.withdrawal doesn't return an error. So we need to fix that. I think people want Java to be general purpose when it is a far more specific use language. I would have thought of Java as general purpose, but you think it's specific because you just use it for what? Doing things on the back end? Is that what you mean? That it's not general enough? But it feels general, I guess. I mean, I would think Java's as general as C# is, I guess, is what I would think. But maybe I'm wrong. Okay, write the minimum amount of code for the test to run and check the failing test output. So what is it? So it wants us to update the error. It wants us to update the withdrawal method to return an error, and then we're going to return nil for that error. But that's ultimately not where we're going to land, right? Because that would be dumb. So we'll do error, and then we'll do nil, like this. Now that's going to, let's see, go test. Let's see, got negative 80 Bitcoin, want 20 Bitcoin. Wanted an error, but didn't get an error, yeah. Because we don't have any code for that. Again, it's very important to just write enough code to satisfy the compiler. We correct our withdrawal method, yeah. So now we need to actually add that logic. So if amount is greater than the current balance, we'll say errors.new, oh no. And otherwise, we will decrement and we'll return nil for the error. I didn't know you could do this. I was trying to figure out how to new up an error. And I did not. This is very convenient. Tour of Go does not talk about that. I think there's a lot of syntactic sugar that I don't know about yet in Go. So I'm excited to learn about it. To be honest, Java can do everything. It's just a pain in the ass sometimes. Yeah, I have to take your guys' word for it because I've never I've never written any Java. You know what I mean? And so I hate to opine or like shit on something that like I've never used before. I will happily I will happily talk shit about Python. Even though I know how to write it, and I will write it if you make me write it. Um, but I feel like it's okay because I've used it enough. Although I think if you like using Python, you should use Python. You know, it's okay for something to land with you and it not land with me. You know. All right, let's make a quick test helper for our error check to improve the test readability. Great, we can do that. We'll copy paste that. And in our test, we will use it. So we'll come up here. We have another helper, don't we? Yeah, we have a helper right here. So we'll put this helper up at the top. And then we'll jump down to the bottom here. Instead of doing that, we'll say assert error. And then we'll pass in T and we'll pass in error. Go test. And everything passes. So this is kind of interesting. So I was saying earlier that we won't just always return an error, but this is kind of an interesting approach, right? For in kind of I guess an object-oriented way. It's like what would you return from withdrawal, right? And I think withdrawal doesn't necessarily need to return anything. So you just return basically a result that indicate was the withdrawal successful or not, because theoretically you can always get the current balance by just calling the balance method. I think from an API perspective though, you could save the caller some work by always returning whatever the balance is after the operation, right? Just like we do with deposit. If you're going to deposit some amount into your wallet and you want to know what the current balance is, well, you could save a call, right, in your API design by just returning what the balance is after the operation completes, which I'm guessing he's going to show us. I'm guessing he's going to show us at some point how to return multiple values, even though I know we all know how to do that already. But hopefully when returning an error of a no, you were thinking that we might iterate on that because it doesn't seem that useful to return. Assuming that the error ultimately gets returned to the user, let's update our test to assert on some kind of error message rather than just the existence of an error. Okay, update our helper for a string to compare against. Okay, we can do that. Short error, and now we need to actually, I guess, pass in an empty string for now. Go test. Oh, it's already 7:11. Jesus, I'm gonna run out of time. How far away are we from the end of this lesson? Yeah, okay, I'm not gonna have time to finish this. I'm gonna have to come back tomorrow. I've got to go upstairs and get ready for work and see my family and make some more coffee. But I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. This was a fun stream. It was even more fun that my wife showed up in chat. That's actually if you're new here and you weren't here when my wife was in chat. That's why that message is pinned. Because she was here and then she left. And nerds is a term of endearment in our household. we like being nerds. All right, we're gonna have to pause. I'm sorry, guys, that I'm so unproductive on making my way through this. I was supposed to get through 5 lessons today, and I got through 1.5. So, yeah, it's wonderful. Yeah. All right, guys. Yeah, I'm going to sign off. So before we go, customary wrap-up stuff. If you're new here and you want to interact with me or chat outside of stream, the best place to find us is Discord. I'll drop that link in the chat there for you. You can join our Discord. We'd love to have you. my schedule, if you're new here, my schedule for my stream is typically I wake up at about 4 o'clock, try to get to the desk by 4:15, and then I usually stream till about 7 most days. If it's a weekend, I might stream longer. If like the family sleeps in later or whatnot, I might stream longer. But I usually stream till about 7 on weekdays because that's when my kids get up and get ready for school, and I should get up. I should go upstairs and get ready for work. So that's the current schedule. So if you see me live, obviously just stop in, say hi. Even if you're just stopping by, just say, hey, what's up, Steven? Hope you have a good day. I'd love to hear from you guys, even if you can't stick around. Otherwise, yeah, I think that's it. We're gonna keep preparing for Advent of Code. We're gonna hopefully try to make Advent of Code a lot of fun in December, and hopefully by the end of the year, I can call myself a novice Go developer. And then I'm sure at some point we'll switch back over to doing more .NET and TypeScript stuff. But I'm gonna try to enjoy this little detour that we're taking into GoLand. Artwork Shoes, I love these streams. Thanks, Artwork Shoes. I'm glad you enjoy being here, man. You guys, you chat, you guys make the stream fun. So thank you all for hanging out. All right, Artwork Studios, I'll see you tomorrow. If you're around, Tao, I'll see you. Bye, Boris. Bye, Wilo Gamer. Pablo, I think Pablo had to dip. Bye, Pablo. Bye, 199. All right. See you guys. Bye, chat. Bye. Bye, guys. Have a good day.